In an unprecedented budget cut, the California Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement and the Bureau of Investigation and Intelligence, which are state-mandated programs, are being utterly dismantled. Cary Cavaleri is a member of the Board of Association of Special Agents in the California Department of Justice.
We used to have over 600 agents, and over the last several years, that's dwindled down by not being allowed to hire additional people. And then suddenly we have a major cut that's going to basically cut us in half from under 400 to approximately 200 or less.
These two agencies, known as BNE and BII, provide an extremely important service to local law enforcement throughout California.
In order to do surveillances, we usually had to borrow from our other sections and other teams, and this would devastate a lot of our most effective operations, whether they be undercover operations, infiltrating criminal organizations, sexual predators. We had agents that were assigned to track sexual predators as part of a task force. Some of them have already been pulled out. Also, in the case of gang enforcement, we have agents both in B&E and the Bureau of Investigation and Intelligence. They're not going to be there. That's very rewarding for the gang members. It's not so rewarding for the citizens.
In Southern California, there have been massive raids involving street sales of OxyContin purchased through Medi-Cal fraud. Due to the investigative work of the BII, the people in these criminal organizations have been arrested and indicted. But as Agent Cavaleri explains, if these planned cuts are allowed to proceed, there is a danger with cases that are currently being prosecuted.
That's going to affect cases that have already been done, because the agent who did that case may be laid off, may be out of state, may be unavailable. So then you're probably going to end up with cases being dismissed. That's a good possibility.
His organization has filed a lawsuit to stop it. The question is it too late? Is this a done deal?
The budget is set in stone currently, okay? These will occur unless something changes. It's not a matter of, well, could this occur? This is happening. Agents have been advised as part of the process that, you are in danger of being laid off, and then originally it was supposed to be December 1st, but it's been postponed temporarily that they didn't receive their final notices. As to why, we were not advised why. Now, it may be a procedural matter. But what happens is, once they've given that notice and once they leave, rebuilding that would take years.
We ask him why Governor Brown has specifically mandated these cuts against the Bureau of Narcotics Enforcement and the Bureau of Investigation and Intelligence. Governor Brown was the Attorney General before running for governor. He knows that these agencies have been invaluable to California law enforcement for decades. What possible motivation is there for him to disband such productive and successful organizations?
As part of our lawsuit, we did mention that we believed that the governor's decision was predicated upon the fact that we seemed to be in favor with him prior to the election for governor, and then CSLA endorsed Meg Whitman. Suddenly we go from being a necessity. Matter of fact, in one statement prior, he said, in tough budget times, you don't cut law enforcement. And then after that, he cuts law enforcement. Not only just law enforcement, but the people he had working for him. He didn't cut us while we were working for him, but then he cuts us after he leaves. That would be a question to ask, why and what caused this to happen.
So what is the Association of Special Agents asking for in their lawsuit? We ask him.
We're asking for that the Attorney General be allowed to determine her own budget priorities and what needs to be done, that she be allowed to move money within her overall budget, and if she decides it would be proper, then backfill the money that's been taken from Division of Law Enforcement. We realize that, California is in a tight situation. We understand that. We understand that this is the budget and we have to live with it. But our premise is that as a constitutional officer, just as then Attorney General Jerry Brown said it was necessary that he be allowed to set priorities, we would think that should apply for her also. Last time I checked, there was, we've made good strides as far as crime, but there's no shortage of it. It's not like, oh, okay, we've solved the crime problem, so we don't need agents. There's plenty of work. We don't have a shortage of work.
It's only going to get worse. Residents of California are gravely concerned about the massive release of 36,000 dangerous felons currently being unleashed from our state prisons. We ask him what we as citizens can do to stop this destruction of the Department of Justice. He was visibly moved by our question.
Citizens can do several things, and of course the agents would appreciate every and all piece of assistance. We're not used to having to ask for help, but this is a situation where every little bit helps. I would say calling their legislator, also communicating to the governor what their priorities are. But the most important message would be unallocate the cuts so that the AG can decide what to do with her agency and let the agents do their job. If they were unallocated cuts and we just were able to fill in behind, okay, yeah, you have to take money from a budget, you have to fill holes, we understand that. The part we can't understand is why are they allocated? That's the thing that makes us wonder, what is it that is so special about the agents that you want to remove such a large chunk of what allows them to function and take people who have expertise and reduce their number and in effect take an agency and make it so that it's ineffective? What purpose does that serve?
Doesn't it serve as a punishment for not supporting him?
In some ways, that's probably the least scary answer. That's something that's kind of explainable, but the other thing is, I mean, why would you help criminals by making sure they don't have to look over their shoulder?
In his first term as California governor, Jerry Brown was known for being soft on crime. He appointed the infamous Rose Bird as the Chief Justice of California. Her personal opposition to the death penalty was the reason she was the first and only Chief Justice to be removed from that office by a majority of the state's voters. We want to know what you, the viewers, think. Please respond to our survey and leave your comments below. Number 1, do you think this is a matter of political punishment because the special agents supported Meg Whitman over Jerry Brown? Yes or no? Number 2, do you think state-mandated programs to investigate organized crime and narcotics trafficking should be protected from budget cuts? Yes or no? And number 3, do you think that more money will be saved by dismantling these agencies than will be wasted in dismissing the prosecution of criminals due to the layoffs of investigators? Yes or no? Please be sure to leave your comments below. I'm Leslie Dutton. Thank you.